welcome to Stronger. Tonight we're going to be talking about a subject that, oh boy, I don't know, every one of us want to avoid. It's again having to do with, the ravine, but we want to focus on the second reason that God allows these, puts us in these, all of this kinds of things, is that he's preparing us for the future. He's preparing us for the better place to come. He's preparing us for the better things ahead. And that means that there is an internal work. Like, he's in here up to a year.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like a bad day,
Right.
So we're talking about a long extended time that he's here.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that? Like, we have to understand that the internals are not a quick work. These are things that God does. So we're going to do some questions again, ladies. So we'll let you lead the way, and we'll have a discussion around your questions.
Well, I mean, we're all parents here around the table. And I think when I'm thinking of this internal work, my mind and heart goes to parenting. So many times I feel like I'm dealing with the externals, which of course are, evidence of what's going on internally. But I feel like, not that I'm trying to play God, but I have a role in helping my child to work on those internals, which will show up in the externals, and preparing them for what is to come, and especially as Christian parents. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, what does that look like in parenting? How can we do this, take an effective and positive approach in parenting to help our children on working in these internals?
Yeah, because that's what God's doing in us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're his children, and because we placed our faith in Christ, and so he's constantly working towards your internals.
That's right.
And because the external world is where you're going to practice what the internal world has built.
Exactly.
And so he's constantly trying to grow me, I know, on the inside, because the external world requires this growth.
That's right.
Well, yeah, it's very similar to parenting. He's parenting me.
Yes.
And so in your parenting, like most of the time, like with us, we tend to focus too much on the externals.
Right.
And we don't know how to partner for internals.
Okay, yeah,
And the more you focus on externals, the more it's going to look and feel like punishment. Because you're looking for this immediate control and immediate objective. Now, that needs to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're acting inappropriately, you need to end the behavior.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But that can't be where you say, I've disciplined.
Right.
That's only where you stop something because you're bigger, stronger, smarter, wiser. You're the parent.
Yeah.
You have the role. You've just stopped something. But you
Right.
haven't actually done anything to actually produce a discipline that goes to the heart, right?
Right. Yeah.
So this is where, God's not into just stopping our action. One of the things Christians, they ask, I think, of sometimes is like, why doesn't God just stop all of our things? Well, because that's got to come through an internal work of him in us. He wants us to be full-on individuals. He didn't make us to be less.
No.
Yeah.
He made us to be more.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what discipline with kids is.
Yeah.
So let's use that as a bit of an example, dive a little deeper here. So what if we only focus on the external behavior, we know that that child basically has exhausted their internal behavior, their internal strength, and they can't consistently do the right thing.
Yeah.
So does it make sense to you that if they don't have the gas in the tank, that they can't do the journey, that they can do the journey out here?
Right.
They can't do it.
No, they can't.
So you have to focus on what's inside.
Right.
And how do you do that as a parent?
Yeah.
You can't sit down and say, watch Stronger. So what you can do with them, though, is to make sure that you are bringing them to a place where they are forced to look at those internals.
Right.
Now, what does God do for Elijah here? He puts him in the ravine, but the ravens bring him food. The brook is there. He's still providing for them. If he wasn't, that's punishment.
Right.
So he's still providing that place of safety.
Yeah.
So he's providing safety for the child.
Right. And the ravine is his protection. There's assassins coming after him. So I think as parents, probably we need to look at this, even though it is a discipline and it's hard and it's kind of like tearing off a Band-Aid as a parent even, but if we look at it as a protection for them, and then like you said, we're still taking care of them through it, but we need to give them the space to get there.
Absolutely. the word safety is key.
Yeah.
The parent in disciplining does not make the child feel unsafe.
Yeah.
And we can do that.
Yeah, we can.
Not just in a physical way, with our voice. We can do it with cutting them off and letting them know that they give them nothing but cold.
Yeah.
That isn't what God does in these things. He'll let the forces work, but he's providing water and he's providing food from the raven. He's making them safe.
Yeah.
And safety's key. If that child feels unsafe, they will not focus on internals. If the parent disciplines in anger, they will not focus on internals. They're going to focus on your internals.
Right.
So there's many ways we can go wrong here. But what we have to do is provide a safe place.
Right.
And that never gets violated. Never violate safety.
Wow.
You're safe with me. I will not harm you.
Yeah.
I will discipline you. You will experience some pain. I'm going to cut you off from this for a week. I'm going to cut you off here. And we're going to have a few follow-up conversations about not just the behavior, but what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
And why you let anger act that way in your life. Why do you choose to be destructive? You don't sit for an hour and teach them this. You sit for like a minute.
Time.
A minute.
Yeah.
And you get them to focus. And so there's this thing the parent plays where they're not preacher, but they certainly are a truth bringer, but it's an internal truth. But the first thing you said is safety.
Yeah.
And that's what was different about this with Elijah. He was always safe. In fact, God put him there for safety.
That's right.
So safety's critical. And if a parent makes them feel safe, then the child can then focus on their own behavior. If you do it wrong, they're focused on your behavior. And you don't want them focused on your behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want them focused on their behavior.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad were excellent at this, actually, but they got you to actually have to focus on you, and yet they maintained that safety. I never felt insecure. I never felt threatened at all
Yeah.
in that follow-up.
For me, so then would you say that you look for just these little incremental small steps? Like for me, I feel sometimes like I've poured so much of myself out and into guiding them to the right path and how to take it internally, but then they don't. And then I'm left with frustration.
Yeah. Well, there's the number one parent's emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? No, really, truly,
Yeah,
right? It's frustration.
I don't doubt it.
Now, what frustration comes, why it's coming is because we have an objective we want. But sometimes our objective's wrong. Sometimes our objective is just stop the external behavior.
Okay.
And that's too easy. Okay. And that's your objective, when they're 1 year old.
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
Don't run out into the street.
But if that's your objective when they're 6 and 7 and 8, you're not on track with what needs to be the objective. And you get frustrated because you can't get them there, and you can't make that happen as they get older.
Yeah.
And you're using up your tools.
Yeah.
And now you have to get louder, and now you have to get more. And it's rather than shifting it away from not just external behavior, you do need to say, go to your room or cut them off. There has to be a cutoff.
Right.
That's the pain.
Yeah.
That's the pain.
That's the ravine. Yeah.
But the pain must not be that they are unsafe feeling with you. That's a different pain.
Okay.
But it must be a cutoff of something in their life. But you still maintain safety.
Right.
Now within that pain, you definitely want to work it long enough because you're still in control of the length of this. But you have to control your own objectives. And if my objective is, I just want this kid to make some ground up on this. I don't expect them never to get angry again. I don't expect them ever to not say a bad word, or I don't expect them not to ever, reach to a violent action again. I do expect that he's going to grow in where we are right now. And I need him to see some things about his anger. I need him to see some things about why he does this, and to start to understand. So our objective has to be movement,
Right.
not getting to the ultimate thing.
Right.
And if your objective is movement, now you're in for those, 18 years you got them under your roof to run the long game and keep working on the internals. And the more you do that, of course, earlier the better.
Yeah.
Then you absolutely, the kid becomes self-controlled, self-disciplined.
Yeah.
And that's coming out of them. Now they're prepared for the bigger world, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's huge.
That's so huge.
So in this situation then, because it is a work, like you're giving them basically space for God to do some work in them, do you make your objectives clear to them? Like in teaching, you know, I want you to get from this. Do you make those objectives clear to them?
Okay, and that is a great question for tomorrow night.
Yay.
So we're going to start off with that one in tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning, or whatever. But I really would encourage you this way. If God's got you in a ravine, it's because he wants you to focus on the internals and let him do the work in you. He wants you to make movement. Don't get frustrated with yourself. That's the worst frustration. When you get frustrated with yourself, it's not where you all want to be. I can't seem to get all the math right. That's not what he's doing. He's getting you right. And that takes a lifetime. That takes movement. And just look and let God move you forward in the ravine you're in. He wants to grow the internals. He wants to reduce that which is hurting, and he wants to absolutely increase that which is resource for the time to come. God bless.